Today, we remember our friend and beloved Fox News commentator, Charles Krauthammer.
You're betraying your whole life if you don't say what you think, and you don't say it honestly and bluntly.
If you could say anything about him, his greatest wisdom was whether it's politics or in life. Charles Krauthammer understood that matters.
The House postponing a critical vote on immigration and the compromise bill.
That is the First Lady made a surprise visit to a detention center for migrant children down in Texas.
And I also like to ask you how I can help to these children to reunite with their families.
Embattled anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok apparently has lost his security clearance.
There is an unelected, unknown, a group of bureaucrats at a very, very high level of government agencies that have unlimited political power.
And it's Take Your Dog to Work Day, and Brian's dogs, Rocky and Apollo, are at work.
Queen, and I know I can treat her right. Y'all sing it with us, huh? What's your name, little girl? What's your name? Shooting you straight, little girl. Won't you do the same? Back at the hotel, Lord, we got such a mess. It seems that one of the crew had to go with one of the guests. Oh, yes. Oh, well, the pope said we can't drink at a bar. What a shame. Oh, won't you come upstairs, girl, and have a drink of champagne? How about you, New York? What's your name, little girl? What's your name? Shooting you straight, little girl, for the rain on shame. What's your name, little girl?
What's his name? It's Johnny Van Sant. You're looking at Leonard Skinner performing live in front of our building. If you'd like to watch the stream, go to foxandfriends.com/concert. Geraldo's over there.
I feel so.
I know, and
I feel that's better. That's better.
I think
We like having you a little closer. The reason we had a little spot right here open, where is Brian?
Yeah.
Well, we asked him to go out on the street and walk his dogs.
No, he wanted to take his dogs down to the car so they could be transported back to their house, and somewhere there, we can't really see it.
He just walked out of the shot, we're being told.
Good job,
Come
Brian.
back,
He
Brian.
really abandoned
Brian,
the show
wave,
to
would
walk
you?
his dogs.
You know what's funny? Most people, if you see something odd on the streets of New York, right, Geraldo, no one looks. It's just like par for the course. It's New York. But if you see Brian walking his two dogs, people will probably stop.
I remember when they got the pooper scooper law finally in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You didn't have to look down at your feet every step you took.
All right. Brian will be back with us in a couple of minutes, but in the meantime, we are remembering Geraldo, the life and times of Charles Krauthammer, a giant on this channel and in conservative circles. And before that, he was a Democrat. And he was one of the speechwriters for Walter Mondale.
And he was so articulate. He was so, thoughtful in his commentary. And he was so patient. Like, we always disagreed, but he was so patient with me. You know, he didn't treat me as if I was mentally impaired. He really let me say what I had to say.
He wanted to hear what you had to say.
And he was just a wonderful guy. Just a quick story. I had, for my back surgery about 6 months ago, I was diagnosed what to do at the University of San Francisco. And the doctor I had was his roommate at Harvard.
Wow.
And was at that party where he jumped in the pool and his life changed. And anytime I feel sorry for myself when I'm limping or something like that, I just think of Charles and everything that he endured and overcame. And it didn't affect his commentary. He had no bitterness at all about what the fate had dealt him. He'd be so sorely missed. I just remember another party in Washington, D.C., where I was bending down to talk to him, and at a certain point he said, you must be uncomfortable. You don't have to stay with me. And he was just, he was a guy so totally conscious of his situation, the example he set. Every word he spoke was so measured, was so thoughtful. I just thought he was so fair, so eloquent. He was eloquent, and eloquent in his reason. It was
He
wonderful.
had a way to debate without letting it you couldn't tell in his voice that he was upset. He just was, you're right, very measured. I always admired that about him.
And so different than me in that.
But it's going to be daunting because there you are, Geraldo Rivera, and you're one of the most famous journalists in the world. But if you're debating Charles Krauthammer, it's kind of like, that guy is one of the Mount Rushmore faces.
That's exactly right.
He's, in a very polite way, he's yelling at me.
That's an exact metaphor of the fact that he could have been on the Mount Rushmore of pundits.
Yeah.
He was just so I thought that he had a way of framing an issue and presenting an argument which was so bulletproof in so many ways, and so rare because there was a civility. And I think that along with his massive intelligence, people will remember that civility, the fact that he had such great manners. He had such, he was in that elegance. He was so willing to hear the other argument and then tear it apart if he had to.
Yeah. Oh, there's a picture of Steve, and there's another one with Brian. Yeah, he was an incredible guy. I also love the fact that I remember in that Bret Baier special, he talked about how when he jumped in the pool, he knew instantly what had happened, that he was going to be paralyzed. And he thought, at that moment, I will not, even from the get-go, he wasn't going to have a victim mentality. If there's anyone who could, he had every right to. I mean, his life changed so dramatically.
That's exactly what I think the lesson of his life, one of the many lessons, but I think that to people who have in any way been disabled, to look at the life that he led, to look at the impact he had, to hear his words still resonate. I remember his last couple of books were compilations of his commentary. And you just read them almost like a novel, and you see the argument, and there's the beginning, and there's the heart of it, and then he has a nice tagline or conclusion. He was one of the greats. He really will be missed. And we always say that when a colleague passes, oh, he'll be sorely missed, our thoughts and prayers and all the rest of it. The fact of the matter is Charles Krauthammer's words will live long after Charles Krauthammer, the human being, and I think they'll impact us. And if you're in journalism school now, you want to know how to frame an argument, just check out one of Charles's books.
Yeah, he is alive in those books. So
very much
check him out. Meanwhile, something that you and Charles would have probably a spirited argument over would be the immigration debate. Yesterday, the House voted on the Goodlatte bill. It didn't get enough support from the Republican Party. Now it sounds like the leadership has got another bill they're working on, a compromise bill, but they still don't have enough votes because for one reason or another, there's not enough stuff to appeal to enough Republicans. Where does this go? Because one of the provisions is to stop separating families. And we've seen those images of those cage rooms down in Texas and along the southern border. They break our hearts, but something's got to be done. And right now, it looks like it's up to Congress.
I'm going to say three quick things. First of all, I think that whoever the chief of staff of the First Lady is should be fired for allowing her to wear that jacket down to the border. Here she had a noble gesture, totally selfless, so important, and she wore a coat that gave critics of the president something else to talk about to deflect the fact that she had gone to see with her own eyes this tragic situation. I think that was a staff error. It was a rookie mistake.
Got us talking about the wrong stuff.
It got us talking about exactly the wrong stuff. I also think, and I think that our viewers have to know that, I believe that we were in many ways way too slow to recognize the emergency on that border. And I think that we, particularly at Fox and Friends, I bear this burden myself, we were too slow to recognize the hideous nature of this policy that separated children from their parents.
And nobody really knew until they saw those images.
Those images, and we haven't seen nearly enough of them or heard the mournful wail of children who've been torn from their parents for no reason. I think it was horrible, and I think we dropped the ball, and I apologize for it. We should have spoken out more fervently, sooner, because why? This is a real issue. The border security is a real issue. We need to secure our borders, but we don't do it by doing something so obscene. We don't endorse child abuse.
How do we do it?
To enforce the border? Well, I think that for right now, there is an emergency. We need emergency housing on our side of the border to put parents and their children, undocumented families,
and the president is reaching out to the Pentagon to
keep them together. On that bill, the compromise bill, shame on the Democrats for not supporting it because it is everything that I need. here's what I need. I need these families not to be separated. I need the DREAM Act, the $1.8 million that the president has spoken about. I want them to have a normalized, legalized status immediately. And I want the $25 billion that Chuck Schumer and Louis Gutierrez and others have promised the president for the southern border wall.
That's a good compromise bill that you want.
It's a good compromise bill. I want it. The Democrats have said that they want it now because they perceive, because of the president's errors with the unaccompanied minor and because of all the criticism and everything else directed at President Trump specifically, that they have come to the conclusion that it is better for the Democratic Party to pass no immigration bill. So they have that issue going forward in November. I also fear that the Republicans say, no, this immigration issue works for us. So where does that leave the American people and the people at the border in a kind of never land where we're not going to resolve this issue because they both sides sadly perceive this to be in their political
advantage.
advantage.
I think we all want something fixed down there
Well,
because it just hasn't worked for years.
Even when I was with the president in Mar-a-Lago a couple months ago after the Parkland High School, I said, make it easy. Forget about all this other stuff, chain migration and LAZA, this and that. Do it simple. DREAM Act, wall, families together. It's a one-pager. The Republican compromise bill is a good bill. I don't even think there are enough Republicans to pass it. But I think I'd reach out. If I were the president, I'd call Chuck Schumer or whoever he talks to and say, hey, come on, man, let's fix this. Let's fix this. And if you don't want to fix this, then I'm going to say that you don't want to fix this from now until November.
All right. Thanks, Geraldo. Good to see you.
Well, we don't know where Brian did go.
Actually, he left with the dogs.
All right, Jillian, have you seen where Brian went?
Looking out the window, I don't see Brian anywhere.
Missing in action.
Stand by for that. Okay, we'll have an update in a minute, but let's get you caught up on some of your news that we're following. Starting with a manhunt that's underway for a man who threatened to put a bullet in the president's head. U.S. Marshals call Sean Christie a quote clear and present danger to law enforcement in Pennsylvania. His father called the Secret Service after he threatened the president on social media. He also said he would shoot anyone who tried to arrest him. Christie has a history of harassing government officials, including former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. The FBI agent known for sending anti-Trump text messages to his lover is now in the dark. In a radio interview, Attorney General Jeff Sessions reveals Peter Strzok no longer has security clearance. Last week, he was escorted out of FBI headquarters as the Bureau conducted a review. An Inspector General's report shows Strzok said he would stop then-candidate President Trump from taking office back in 2016. We're getting one step closer to a formal sit-down between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. National Security Advisor John Bolton heading to Moscow next week to start preparing for the potential meeting. The two presidents met during summits in 2017, but this would be their first standalone meeting. It could happen as soon as July, possibly in Austria. It would be around the time President Trump attends the annual NATO summit. Keep you posted there. Let's look at your headlines.
A lot going on.
Back to the two of you.
I know. All right, thank you. Meanwhile, today is deadline day for the Department of Justice and FBI to hand over documents Congress is asking regarding the Russia probe. And if they don't, it seems House Speaker Paul Ryan has a plan.
And the Supreme Court rules you're going to have to pay more to shop online. And Stuart Varney says that's actually a good thing. He's on deck.
That's right. Meanwhile, Stuart, look here. Brian will be back because right now he is dropping off Rocky and Apollo in their big car to ride home.
Let's look at the reaction of these New Yorkers walking by.
A major Supreme Court decision that could affect your next online purchase.
SCOTUS had a ruling yesterday that states can now collect sales taxes for things you buy online.
Well, here with more on what this means for you and your pocketbook is Stuart Varney, the host of Varney & Company. So what are the takeaways here? How is it going to affect our viewers?
I'll give you 4 takeaways. Number 1, the free internet is just about dead. You buy something online, and in the future, you're almost certainly going to have to pay sales tax on it. Here it comes. Hold on a second. Let me go through my little list here. Spent a lot of time accumulating the list. Number 2, state governments are going to take in a lot more money. They've been losing $33 billion a year because of the preference for online. That's going to be replaced. Number 3, bricks and mortar stores, you know, the shopping mall people, they now have a level playing field. This is very much to their advantage. Number 4, if you're a small online seller, not the Amazons of this world, but smaller guys, you're going to have a problem with the compliance costs. Because now you've got to work out some 10,000 different sales taxes on different items in 50 different states, and you've got to pay for that compliance. That's going to hurt your bottom line.
Well, let me ask you, who is going to adjust? The price is going to go up, or are the online sellers going to take the hit?
Yeah, good question, Brian, because I think that some of the online sellers will lower their prices to take account of the increase in state taxes which buyers have to pay. Now, the big guys, the Amazons of this world, they can afford to do that. They can afford to adjust their prices a little bit, maybe, to take account of that. The smaller guys cannot.
And the smaller guys, the brick and mortar stores, like in the town I live in, they're going, yeah, finally, because the online sellers for years have had a leg up, because in the beginning, people weren't doing it. Now everybody is.
It's a contentious decision, but I'm in favor of it because this preference for online, you don't have to pay sales tax, that was introduced back in 1992 to get the online sellers off and running. Well, they're off and running. It's 2018. They're doing very well indeed. They no longer need that preference. Level the playing field. That's what the ruling does.
We knew it was coming, and it's here.
You know what else is coming? Your show, 9 to noon on FBN.
Can't wait.
My second favorite channel in the whole world.
Is that right?
Yeah, I love ESPN too.
Well, you know, Rocky and Apollo thought it was Animal Planet.
I know. For a while it was. All right. Good job.
20 minutes after the top of the hour. Also coming up, this Army Staff Sergeant made the ultimate sacrifice for you, for your family, and for our great nation. And now his family is receiving a very special gift, a brand new mortgage-free house. That Gold Star family is going to join us live next.
That is awesome. But first, here's Leonard Skinner with Skinner Nation.
Motorcycle ladies hooking up to the daddies. So open those gates, gonna rock tonight. Yeah. So put your hands in the air.
Building Homes for Heroes builds, modifies, and gifts homes mortgage-free to veterans and to their families. And now the foundation is expanding their program to include families who have made the ultimate sacrifice, like the family of Army Staff Sergeant Mark DeAlencar. There's his picture. Made the ultimate sacrifice for you and your family and your house today. They became the first Gold Star family to be presented with a new house from this wonderful organization, and we were there. Watch.
We honor a great husband. We honor a great father. We honor a great man, and we honor a great commando. A hero that paid the ultimate sacrifice.
This is something that my husband and I have dreamed on. We're on that journey. We were this close to accomplishing that, buying our very first home. So I know he's looking down.
Welcome home. Welcome home.
I love you. I love you. Oh, God bless you. This Homes for Hero and how it takes care of the family now and the future generation, that means the utmost to everybody that's served, because it truly shows you that American spirit. Their Gold Star families are part of our family as well.
I think this is amazing. It's beautiful.
How do you like it? I like it. Because this is your home. Welcome home.
It's a lot of emotions without him, but thanks to this community, and God knows thanks to his brothers in arms, 7th Group, Special Forces, they wrapped their arms around me and my family.
And although my husband, he's not here today physically, but my God, his presence is here.
Wow, well, joining us now is the Dallin Carr family, Natasha Faye, her mother Yolanda Thornton, her daughter Octavia, and her son Marcos, and the very special founder and CEO of Building Homes for Heroes, Andy Pujol, who I've been friends with for a long time. Andy called me on the phone and he told me about your story, Natasha. How has this man right here in this organization changed your life?
There are truly no words of what Andy and Andy helpers and all the other good people who took the time out, a time where my life, my kids' life was turned upside down, you know? So we're in the middle of a pause. It's a beautiful thing that, although I wasn't thinking about my next steps, what I was gonna do next, where we're gonna go next, amazing people like Andy and the volunteers that come along with Andy, his team was thinking about me and my family. He didn't know me for a can of paint, but that heart is pure, and he understood the hurt. He understood what we lost as a family, that void that's missing as my husband. So that in itself should explain how amazing Andy and all the beautiful people that I've met through Andy has meant to me and my family.
Your husband was the love of your life. You were together for 15 years, raising 5 children together. He goes and fights for our country and doesn't come home. Tell me what happened.
We were coming back from soccer practice. My 2 boys.
Just all-American family.
Yes, regular. My son here, Marcos, and then our oldest son, middle child, Trigo. Come home regular Saturday evening, same routine. Come in, getting ready just to relax, and our daughter, Tatiana, was like, Mom, I need to run back to the van. I left my headphones, and I said, okay, remember what your dad said, turn the car lights off. If you don't, my battery's gonna die. She comes in crying. Then my other daughter, Octavia, consoles her, and then they call me. I freeze. I call my mama. She comes down, and there you have it at the door, just like in any movie. You know, anyone who's seen, you already know what's about to happen. You're not ready, though. You're paused. And that's when we got the worst news that changed our lives.
Mrs. Thornton, I'm a mama. I have a daughter. I'm sure you were very worried about how this is going to affect her and your grandkids. What was he like as a son-in-law? It's okay.
He would give you a shirt off his. He didn't want any type of accolades or rewards. He was just a kind person. Even on his worst day was a good day, because he was so warm, so soft-spoken. I used to ask, how can you be a sergeant in the military, because your men and women need to hear you? And he would say, Miss Yolanda, when I am in my military mode, I can do it. He had like an off and on switch. When he's working, he's one way, but when he steps in that house, he's dead.
A gentle giant.
He's dead, and everybody would march to his music, literally.
Right. Andy, they've been through so much, clearly so many emotions. He's the dad of, you know, these 5 beautiful children, not going to come back. You stepped in. What made you want to do that, and how did you hear about their story?
Well, you know, Ainsley, if I may, I'd like to say something I think millions across America would like to say, is that we all love you and respect you so much, and that you make the world a brighter place for so many. Yes, you,
No,
ma'am.
I think this is not about me. Thank you, Andy.
I know it's
you
not,
are
but
the
you
one
do, and you help
that's
so
changing
many
lives.
veterans and so many families. And I believe you helped launch Building Homes for Heroes. We went from 1 or 2 homes a year.
7 years ago.
You did your first piece with Sean and Dan, and now we're gifting 30 to 40 homes a year. So we couldn't have done it without you, and I believe that.
Our viewers, we crashed your website when we were on Sean Hannity's show, talking about Joel Tavera's story, who was badly burned, and that was one of the first houses that you built down in Florida. And you guys, you opened up your wallets and you gave so much money to this organization, and now they're gifting 30 to 40 homes per year. God bless you. I do want to hear from the kids. Octavia, you just graduated high school. Tell us about the ceremony, because it was something special to honor your dad, right?
Yes, it was really special. It was something to remember. After he passed right before my graduation, so it was tough. So his group, the 7th Special Forces group, they all came together and decided to come to my graduation in honor of Mark, since he couldn't be there for me. So it was really special. It was, you know, the regular graduation.
That's what they do. They come
called.
together. Yeah. Marcus, what does your room look like? Do you love it? Uh-oh, we just dropped your microphone. Let me hold it up for you, honey. He was playing with it. How's your bedroom? Do you like your new house?
Yes.
It's really cool. What's your favorite part? Your room. Oh, well, God bless you. Thank you so much. Andy, your website.
Website, www.buildinghomesforheroes.org. And if I may just say that every day is Veterans Day at Building Homes for Heroes, and now this is the beginning of every day we're honoring Memorial Day.
Yes.
And hopefully together with all of us, we're able to do a lot more for a lot more families like
I totally believe this definitely will be a journey.
Yolanda and Octavia
like
and
this man
Marcos.
here, my God, truly a blessing. He came at a time most needed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. We have a great country, don't we?
We should get a great picture of all of us.
Y'all, we have Judge Jeanine Pirro coming up next.
Oh.
Thank you.
Skinner can't hear you, New York. One little problem I can promise you. Got a monkey on your back. Just one more fix what might do the trick. One hell of a price for you to get your kid.
There has been an immigration showdown in our nation's capital this week. The U.S. House of Representatives have now postponed a crucial vote on another immigration compromise bill.
Well, will it happen at all as the First Lady makes a surprise visit to a detention center for migrant children that happened over in Texas?
And that is where we find Griff Jenkins. He joins us live on this Friday morning with the latest. Hey, Griff.
Good morning, guys. The First Lady braved some nasty storms to be here, met with about 50-plus kids here in a classroom, not in cages. She was accompanied by the HHS secretary, and she thanked staff. Here's what she had to say after the visit.
We all know they're here without their families. And I want to thank you for your hard work, your compassion, and your kindness you're giving them in this difficult time.
Weather cut her visit short. She didn't get to visit the Border Patrol, but the media made a big deal about a jacket she wore as she departed. On the back it said, "I don't really care, do you?" But when I went inside and talked to Dr. Kurtzinski, the CEO here at this shelter, she said the First Lady really connected with the kids, and I asked them about past administrations dealing with this immigration crisis.
Every administration is trying to do the best that they can in a truly difficult situation where sometimes there are no easy answers and sometimes even no good answers.
And clearly no good answers or easy solutions when it comes to that House bill. The GOP leadership pulled the bill for a vote today. They're going to try again next week, guys.
All right, Griff, live down in McAllen, Texas. Griff, thank you very much.
So suddenly immigration's front and center, but do they have the votes to have immigration pass the House and then the Senate? Judge Jeanine Pirro joins us right now. She's the same judge from Justice from Jeanine that we see on weekends. And Judge, we're seeing nonstop the president tweet, don't bother voting on this in the House. On immigration reform.
Because it's not going to pass the Senate, or it doesn't appear to be able to pass. Look, let me explain something. This is the midterms. We're on the eve of the midterms. This has to be resolved. Republicans have to resolve it. Get behind the president and get out of his way if you can't support him. Because the economy's doing well. Our safety and security is great. Everything is fine in this country right now, and they're going to throw this immigration thing. And by the way, did you notice the Russia collusion thing is off the map? So they had to substitute this for it. So get this off the table and move forward.
And, you know, Judge, when you're on the program, you're a law and order person, by the book. Ultimately, what happened was over a month ago, the president asked the attorney general, said, let's start enforcing zero tolerance. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to where we are right now, and people were horrified by those images of the children being separated from their families.
Why is it more horrible under Trump than it was under Obama? There's nothing new about this. The law is very clear. The Flores decision. You cannot keep children longer than 20 days. The president was following the law. Now the president says says, all right, I'm going to keep the kids with their family, and the issue is, where do we put them? First of all, we are not a nation that has open borders. You come to this country, if you're invited to this country, if you apply like everyone else. When I was a judge, I used to swear in newly naturalized citizens. It was the best day of the year in the courthouse. They loved it. They swore allegiance to this country. They waved the American flag. We have people coming here who think they're entitled to come here. On an individual basis, it's like me saying, I want John Jones to come to your house. I want you to feed him, clothe him, bathe him, educate him, and give him cash. No.
Well, then we've got to change the laws, and that's where Congress comes in.
That's where Congress comes in, and we've got the House, the Senate, and the Oval, and they better figure it out. But then again, Paul Ryan couldn't figure out health care after 7 years.
Judge, I agree with you. This was the same problem under the past administration. This administration is changing it and putting the parents back with the kids, but you won't hear that on all the other channels. Let's talk about Charles Krauthammer, our friend that we lost.
He was one of those people, and he was on my show several times. He was one of those people who was so smart. It was like he had the last word. Scary smart, scary measured, balanced. I mean, he was an intellectual giant. And he was someone who was kind. He was gracious for years. I didn't know he was in a wheelchair.
Right.
I had no idea that he was. Not that it matters, but that he was always so pleasant and always so accommodating. And for my show, it's Saturday night, it's live. He was willing to come on. I was always so impressed with the man.
Right. Here's the thing, Judge. What, in your judgment, would he be like with Trump in year 2 now? You know, they had some friction early on.
Yeah.
So how do you think he'd be handling President Trump? Like, what are the types of things, this immigration thing, where things aren't really cutting on party lines as much?
Well, they're not cutting on party lines, but we're a country of law and order. And I believe that Charles Krauthammer, like the rest of us, like the president, recognizes that there are limits, but also that we have to be compassionate. And that's what the president has done this week. He has shown more compassion than Obama or any of the ones before him. Now the party needs to get behind him, and we need to get through 2018 to continue the economy. So to answer your question,
you've been calling balls and strikes.
Yes.
Judge Jeanine, thank you very much for joining us. And by the way, the President of the United States tweeted out, buy your new book,
and
Liars,
I didn't know
Leakers,
it.
and
I
Liberals.
walked in. Thank you.
You just did it this morning. All right. Thanks,
there
guys.
it is.
There you go.
That's the book.
All right, we'll
right
be
there.
watching you this weekend. Also, there's a special on Charles Krauthammer tonight at 9 o'clock here on the Fox News
And
channel.
the Hannity slot.
Speaking of TV shows,
there's a new season of Objectified coming this weekend. It starts with a little bit of magic.
I'm guessing that's not a tiki torch that you have in your backyard.
You know, I was so blessed to carry this for the Olympics.
Harvey Levin has a preview of his interview with Magic Johnson. It's hard to tell who's taller.
but first, here once again, Leonard Skinner with Gimme 3 Steps.
I was scared and feared and for my life I was shaking like a leaf on a tree. Cause he was lean and mean and big and bad, holding that gun at me.
NBA Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, he's also the owner of the Dodgers, sits down with Harvey Levin for the season 2 premiere of Objectified.
I want to take you back to the day you got diagnosed when they told you this, because it was a routine blood test. What went through your mind?
I was lining up everything and when I was going to die, right? I was lining up, getting the will together, getting everything in place, right?
The host of Objectified, TMZ founder Harvey Levin, joins us right now from Hollywood. Harvey, I remember that day, you know, it was a riveting special, and everybody thought that's a death sentence. He will be dead soon, but thanks to medicine and other things, he has lived a long life.
Well, and what you have to understand, too, is this was 1991 when he was diagnosed. And you know what? You're right. For many people, it was a death sentence. And Magic knew that. And he felt that he was going right down that road to die. Went to his wife, Cookie, and he talks about this, how he said to her, look, you can leave me. And, you know, this was extremely difficult, obviously, for him, and then to play it out on a public stage. He did not want to do that press conference that you're talking about, which everybody who was around remembers, and he talks about who convinced him to do it, who sat down with him and said, you have a huge platform here, and you can make a difference, and it will also help you. And he talks about this woman who turned everything around for him.
That's a good message for anyone watching that's going through a horrific time or fighting their health issues or going through a divorce or whatever it is. So thanks for reminding us of that. We do have a clip of what's going to be in the special that's going to air this weekend. Let's watch this, The Object, and then we'll get your reaction on the other side.
So I'm guessing that's not a tiki torch that you have in your backyard.
No, it's not. You know, I was so blessed to carry this for the Olympics for Salt Lake City, and I carried it in LA.
Wow, that's one of his prized possessions.
You got to keep that?
Harvey?
Yeah, I mean, you know, these objects, you know, the point of the show, just to remind people, the point of the show is that we look at the building blocks of people's lives to find out how they got to where they are today. And, you know, we do it through objects they chose to keep that are meaningful to them. And, you know, when you think about Magic Johnson, you think about all the things, you know, from carrying the torch to the Olympic gold medal. And to me, one of the most awesome things, he says, I'm going to take you into a room that I wanted for so long, and I couldn't wait for my kids to grow up so they can move out and I could use this room. And he walks me in, guys, he walks me in this room. And I've just never seen anything like it. It's the hardwood floor that the Showtime Lakers played on, the authentic floor. He's got the Tiffany trophies in there. And then, you know the way they blow glass in Italy?
Sure.
Yes.
He has the entire team in blown glass, and it's the most awesome room. And you know, and it opens people up, and so they can talk
Harvey,
kind of intimately.
Thanks so much. We'll watch Objectified, not this week, but next week right after.
No,
thanks so much.
It's this Sunday.
It was going to be, but we're going to do the Charles Krauthammer special, and then yours will air later. We'll keep our viewers posted.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Breaking news. All right, Harvey Levin
I've
from
just
TNT.
decided.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to step aside. Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama, coming up next.
Good morning, everybody. Day of reflection for good reason on the life of Charles Krauthammer. What a man. He taught us so much about living. Other big headlines: will Republicans get the documents they seek on the Clinton email matter and the FISA order? We'll find out. Will Republicans pass an immigration bill, or will they move on like the president's saying? Great lineup. America's A-team is here. Major headliner. We'll see you 9 to noon, folks, in 8 minutes on a Friday morning. See you then.
I'm sure you heard the news. The All-American Concert Series features Leonard Skinner.
They're saying Sweet Home Alabama.
Take it away, guys!
Turn it up. Big wheels keep on turning. Carry me home tonight, Ken. Singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again, and I think it's sin. Yeah. Well, I heard Miss Young sing about her. Well, I heard O'Neal put her down. Well, I hope Neil Young will remember. What do you say, New York? Southern man don't need him around anyhow. Sing it, baby. Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. In Birmingham, they love the governor. What do you say? Now we all did what we could do. Now Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? Now tell the truth. Huh? Sweet home Alabama, where the and they've been known to pick a song or two. Lord, they get me all so much. What do you say, people?